Okay, so welcome everyone. It has been nearly 6 weeks since we've last played. Unfortunately, Ed's not here with us tonight because he is doing some heroic fostering goodness. But hopefully he'll be back next week and we'll get back on a bit of track with some regular games. So in terms of a little bit of a recap from last session, we've arrived in New York and things have gotten incredibly worse from there on. The weather is horrific with snowstorms left, right, and centre. And our good friend Jackson Elias has been murdered. And as you guys have started to get through to this, so you entered the room as he was being stabbed and pursued chase to some folks that were in the room at the time, and one got away in a car. Whereas two policemen turned up and took the other two off you. At the end of that evening, I believe Ed and trying to think who else went to the. Was it you, James? You went to the museum, sorry, the university,
Trying to catch a lecture.
where there was a guest lecture from Professor Anthony Cowles on the cult of darkness, who gave you some notes about what he thinks in relation to some blood cults. Upon returning to the hotel, everyone's pretty worn out, knackered. It's been an awful day, and almost trying to piece together the information that's happened, as there's an incredibly amount that you found in such a short amount of time. Upon that evening, everyone decided to go to bed, I believe, apart from Victor, who stayed up to start reading some of the things that he was not privy to at the time. And yeah, I suppose that sadness of having lost someone that you had some adventures with, or your father had adventures with, is kind of taken a little bit of a toll on the group. Or you'd like to think so, Jax.
Couldn't give a shit, mate.
So we begin our day back in your original hotel. So what is everyone doing? How's everyone feeling?
Do I need to do anything for having stayed up all night? Like, do I have any kind of like exhaustion effects or anything?
So have you not slept at all?
He probably has, like, just where he was though. He probably didn't go back up to the room.
Yeah. So I imagine as you go on, some things might be at a slight disadvantage when you make some rolls tonight. Yeah.
I've been going over the information we have. I believe we have some leads to follow up. Do you have anything that you, with your fresh minds, that you are looking to chase down today?
Oh, are we all together?
I assume so. Otherwise, I'm talking to myself.
I was like, "What are you doing, bro?"
I guess we would have met and gone for breakfast.
Yeah.
The hotel doesn't have anything, does it?
Oh,
Can we
like,
go to that same place that we went to last time and had drinks and played card games or whatever it was?
Yeah.
I think I would be like what I just said would have happened as soon as he saw you walk into the lobby, rather than not even wait to get to somewhere for breakfast.
All right, I just say
And then
fucking breakfast then.
Fine.
And
Let's
Walk
get
off.
breakfast.
So it seems this morning that Robert's really kind of, there's an air of melancholy about him. He's very slow, very subdued, and it seems as though yesterday has had a lot more of a toll on him than the rest of you. Understandably so, with how close and excited he was by Jackson's adventures, and just his relationship in general with him was one that he really treasured. It made him special and cool for once. So he's pretty subdued today, and not really with it.
Robert, I think it's best if you take the day off. We won't be getting into too much trouble, I don't think, today. Why don't you just take the day? He was your friend. You saw him literally killed in front of you.
And he agrees, and he sort of asks about perhaps maybe it'd be worth spending some time studying some of the things that you guys have found already, having a look through some of these notes and doing some reading, what he's good at, to find some links with the marks that are on Jackson's head.
Yes. I mean, I had some thoughts about those myself, but I'll discuss it with the others. Why don't you have a look at those and come back to us when you're feeling better? We can cross-reference what we have. Go back to your room now. Feel better.
And he takes his time to drink his tea, slowly, almost painfully awkward, before he sort of gathers up a few notes from the rest of you to take it off to have a little look.
Where are we now? We're in the hotel lobby.
I believe so is what it sounded like.
Are there many people about?
It's quite early, so it's probably about 7:15 in the morning. There's not a particular amount going on. Outside is again a light sort of snowy day. It's still falling, but not as bad as it has been.
I'm going to hand Jax back his revolver, which I think I've still got.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because I gave it to Victor and he was fucking useless.
Hey, I shot bullets.
Ugh.
They didn't hit the target.
I'm just gonna take it back and thanks, James.
I'm sorry. I used a few of your bullets then.
Not very well.
I mean, I used them.
I won't be giving it back to you. You need to learn how to shoot, boy.
And my
Right,
father
first.
never taught me that. Not really. Not without a rifle.
I'm walking out the door, heading towards the diner.
Okay, sounds good. I'm out.
Okay,
Let's
so
follow him.
as you start to get up and to leave the hotel, the door opens with almost a slight jingle, and a heavy set man starts to walk through. He's looks rather plump. He's got quite a dark complexion and brown hair, and he has that slicked back. He looks quite neat and tidy, although his suits fit him quite poorly. And as he starts to walk in, he's wearing a sort of a bowler hat, and he almost clocks you all immediately, and he starts making his way over to you.
All right.
Is that you'd say that out loud?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, what do you want?
So he moves over and starts making his way to you, and you can almost see him start to reach into the sort of breast of his jacket. Right,
I'll grab
you.
the revolver. I'll just like put my hand on it as he puts his hand on his jacket pocket.
In sight.
Yeah, as in, all right, what the fuck do you want?
And almost immediately his tone changes very, very quickly. Right, you, put it fucking down now. And he starts to pull out, and you can see almost like a leather square, and as he starts pulling out further and further, there is a shield of the New York police on it.
I continue to look incredibly intensely at the menu.
I'm then gonna rub my belly.
Oh, we're in the
Like,
hotel,
oh.
though, aren't we? We're in the hotel.
So
man,
almost
what
as
a
you were just
lovely
making your way towards the
Yeah,
door,
we didn't get out of the
you didn't
hotel.
quite get out.
Oh, we didn't get. Okay, we're still in the hotel lobby. That's fine.
I'm just gonna
I-
scratch my belly and be like, "What can we help you with, sir?"
I need to talk to all of you. Sit down. And he's got quite a sort of a thick Irish accent. Obviously an immigrant. And he's, I suppose, getting on in his age. It looks almost like once upon a time he was quite fit, he was quite muscular. But now in sort of his middle age, it definitely looks like he has gone past his peak.
Can I see some ID, please?
And
Besides the shield.
besides the shield.
Yeah.
So it opens up, and you can see inside that there is a piece of paper almost within this wallet. There's no photograph, but it sort of says Lieutenant Poole, and it talks. There's a badge number. And
Is that standard? No photograph. As you say.
1920s, probably.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm surprised that he necessarily even had a paper.
Some identification.
Yeah, he could have just been carrying a badge, and God knows.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an education roll if you like.
Why, sure. Oh yeah, I just need to do this.
wrong with the group?
Prepare yourselves.
Okay.
Oh,
So as you're sort of looking, I mean, it looks legit, and you can see that he, as is his reasonably quick flash, it appears as though he works within homicide.
Okay.
And
All right.
yeah,
My question to him will be, I'm happy to talk to you. Can we do it over breakfast?
no, it's too important. I need you right now. And there's an air of sort of almost pressure to
Never
him.
had that in my
and,
life.
And he kind of looks round almost a little bit jittery. I suspect we should go somewhere a bit more private.
I mean, we have our rooms. Should we use one of our rooms?
Yes, I think that'd be a good idea.
I look expectantly at the other two.
Oh, I ain't going in mine.
aren't we sharing?
There's
I
two-
know I've got my own.
And Victor also has his own.
Oh.
You were with Robert.
And, yeah, you and Robert have a room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we're probably
Robert
not
wanted
going back
you.
there.
Yeah, let's not take him back to. Fine. We'll take you back.
Why?
To my room. We'll take you
I
back
mean,
to my
like,
room. It's fine.
Robert's not that down. He's just a ghostly figure that we can't talk to yet.
He doesn't need this extra pressure in his life.
Well, more I'm thinking you don't want to get him arrested if this thing goes south.
Also, that yeah, he might be the only one to get us out.
Oh, God.
To Victor's room.
To Victor's room.
To my
Okay.
room.
So you make.
In fact, we just take him to Victor. We're not waiting for him to offer. We just take him to Victor's room.
Well,
I
There's
mean,
no
it's-
other options. We're not taking him to Rob, and there's absolutely no way that he's going to my room. So
I mean, it sounds
I'm
about
now
right.
interested in what Jax has got in his room.
I
See-
just don't want some dirty fucking police officer in there.
So you make your way back up to the room. What do you do when you get there?
Let him in.
Yeah, I just unlock the door, let him in. Are there chairs or is it all just beds and?
There's one chair. And then there's the beds in the middle. He doesn't.
I'm
sit-
gonna- I'll stand
Um,
by the window.
I'm gonna offer him the seat with my hand and be like, "Well, here you go."
Okay, and he walks, but past it, continuously, almost sort of looking around the room slightly. Right. Last night you were seen with some people. You meet the exact same description. Where's the fourth of you?
What?
yeah.
Fourth one.
Our friend Robert is grief-stricken.
Just give him the name, why don't you? You fucking kid. Jesus Christ.
Of course, I give him his name.
Why don't you just tell him he's in a different hotel while
We've
you're
done
at it?
nothing wrong.
Jesus.
He's gone back to England.
We've done
Tell him
nothing
that.
wrong, officer.
Would you like his date of birth as well? Yeah, I'm sure Victor's got that.
I tell him that he's in another room because he's grief-stricken.
Right. What were you doing last night, leaving that hotel?
Well, I didn't really want to stay with the dead body, so, I got out.
And the two you were following?
Just killed him.
Well, I don't believe that because we have them in custody.
Well, that's good. Why do you not believe they're killers? You seen what they did to his body?
I thought you said you killed them.
What? No,
I
said
thought you
they
said-
killed him.
Oh,
Like,
my apologies.
Those two people killed. What do you call it? What's his face? I can't even remember his name. It's
Jackson.
been so long.
Sorry, I thought you said then that you'd killed them.
Oh no,
That's,
no.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember killing them.
No.
Also, that would be a really interesting thing.
I
to
thought
say
this
to
was a
police
very
officer.
yeah. I thought this was a very strange bluff. And you see him. You see him sort of pacing back and forth, back and forth. He's quiet and brooding on something.
What was your name, officer? I'm sorry. I am not usually so flustered.
Lieutenant Poole, I'm with Homicide.
Poole. All right, fine. What is it you want to know, Mr. Poole?
I need to get to the bottom of what happened last night.
What has happened?
There's a dead man in one of our hotels. It's not the first.
Not the first.
Not the first with the same cuts?
And he nods. Almost kind of like it's too much to kind of verbally acknowledge, if that makes sense.
Show him the papers then. I'm just gonna be like, Victor, show him the information.
I will do. I got some questions of my own first, though.
When was the first?
Last 2 years we've had many wealthy, poor, middle class, black, white, all over the city.
Always hotels?
All sorts of places.
All sorts of places, I see. Have you managed to find any connected information as to what the cuts are or what they mean?
And he sort of takes almost like a deep long pause. Dr. Lemming, eccentric Manhattanite and folklorist, if that's what you want to call him. He thinks something to do with an African death cult, but nothing useful that I know.
Dr. Lemming, you say?
Hmm.
Can I find Dr. Lemming?
Manhattan.
That's very specific of you. Thank you. I can confirm his story. Let me just read my notes. That
Okay.
6 weeks ago, and you know full well that I wrote like a massive amount of notes last time.
Why have you just come here and are you telling us all this information?
Well,
Like, we're possibly murderers.
well, we haven't been in America though, have we? We haven't been. That's why I said when did they start? Because we've
not been here.
We've been here in America, or certainly I've been in America for like 2-3 days.
Also take into account that they have people in custody.
So they wouldn't have come on their own if they're going to arrest us anyway. But I'm going to say that. I'm assuming we're not under arrest, so you would not have come here on your own.
Yeah. I'm just interested more in why he's giving us information so freely. Because even if it is an ongoing investigation, they don't usually go.
So let's ask him. So I'm assuming we're not under arrest because you're on your own. Why are you talking to us about this? Why aren't we suspects?
Right, make a charm, fast talk, or a persuade roll.
I'll do intimidate.
You can try intimidate, but see how that goes.
How charming are you, Luke? You're probably about as charming.
What
as
were my
Mike
options?
is.
Charm.
Fast talk or persuade.
Oh God, that's worse.
I don't think I've got.
It's gonna be a charm.
Boom.
Did you get it?
Hey!
Oh my God! Well,
I don't think I've passed a roll before.
Don't
remember to tick it off.
Don't forget to tick.
Evidently, I'm very charming.
This one guy who recognizes you as a boxer from back in the past.
That you put your foundation on today.
Well, he's from New York, so yeah, may well be. He could have seen me fight.
He continues pacing, and he looks more and more frustrated. The more pieces that he gets from you, the more things that doesn't necessarily add up. We arrested someone, Hilton Adams. He was found at one of the scenes of one of the murders, and poor Captain Robson, he arrested him, but I think he's got the wrong man. Every time we seem to get someone else, cultist-like people, pulled straight rank on me and whisked them out from under my nose. I can't even question them.
He sounds like he's one of them then.
Doesn't sound.
I'm just going to say that out loud.
Yeah. No, I like confirm. I just like back you up. Like it doesn't sound like something a straight cop would do. It sounds like somebody who might be corrupt there. No?
But he's in a position of power.
Obviously. Might I ask if you, when I said, do you have any leads, and you gave me Dr. Lemming, has Dr. Lemming told you what these cuts relate to? The death cult, the name, perhaps?
And he essentially goes through what you already know in the sense that he thinks that they are from where has it gone?
From Kenya.
He thinks that they're from Kenya.
The
Thinks they're
bloody
part
tongue.
of a blood cult.
Do you have the name? The name, from my recollections, is the Bloody Tongue. If that helps you at all.
That's new to me. Thank you.
You're welcome, officer. Carry on. Sorry, sir.
He kind of nods at you. These new things, though, we knew that there was some sort of murderer, but the more and more we look, there's definitely some sort of ritualistic thing to it, isn't there?
Almost certainly. Right, I can't actually remember because it has been 6 weeks. What was taken from him? There was like the cuts on his forehead, and there was like
There's a hole in the chest.
Yeah, there was like an organ taken or something, right?
There was a very big hole in the chest. I think that was from if I remember rightly, a curved blade.
But nothing.
But I don't believe there was. His room had been tossed.
Oh, my notes. Okay.
His room had been tossed.
Because
you managed to find some things on the floor when you raced after them.
Had they all been killed so far in the same manner with the cuts and then the hole in their chest? I believe we interrupted ours, so perhaps they weren't finished.
They've all had these marks on their head, but different ways of dying. Mostly stab wounds, but some lynched.
Anything that stands out as particularly unusual?
No common theme apart from these things on their heads.
None of them had the fat drained out of them.
Fat drained out of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's another story.
He looks at you quite perplexed.
I saw someone who ate someone's fat ones.
Is this the first time you've got suspects for this? Or did he say you had before? He did, didn't he? He just hadn't managed to question any of them.
We've got there's a man incarcerated. I don't think he's the right one.
What is his name? If it is okay for you to tell me.
Hilton Adams.
Hilton.
I don't think that's anyone we know, right?
No, but
Your name.
Adams is his first name, or Adams is his surname?
Surname.
Hilton is his first name. Interesting first name.
Sounds like a posh twat.
Always a keen tongue there, Jax.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm surprised you've not seen this before. It was all in the Times.
We've not been
New
in the
York?
US long.
Well, what brings you over here then? Over here and suddenly one of your men's dead.
The dead
Our
man
dead
himself
friend.
brought us here.
We were having a reunion of sorts, I guess you'd say. We knew Jackson a few years ago. We met in South America.
Yes, indeed, in Peru.
He in fact asked us to come here, and I'm just going to show him the letter.
Yeah, sharing the telegram.
Okay. He takes it, he reads it, and he passes it back.
As you can see, we were due to be investigating the lost expedition in Africa.
We didn't even get to talk to him. Went to go see him, and his bloody hole was in him.
And last night, what happened when you went down that alleyway?
They gave some useless kid a gun, and he didn't do anything with it. That's what happened.
I mean, contrary to popular belief, not every black man is good with guns. Not every black man can shoot somebody just that easily.
And you see a smirk on Paul's face, obviously relating to the racism.
We tried to question the guys you've got in custody, but they were out of it. They were making no sense.
So we've heard.
The officers caught up with you, right?
We left them with some of your officers.
Aye. But like I said, they're gone before I even got a chance to question.
If it helps, some of them got away. I can give you the number plate of the car that got away.
That'd be real helpful.
I believe it was NYL7.
And he starts flicking through one of his notepads. He starts to have a look through, and you see him he's looking for something intent. Black car.
Yes.
They were all black men.
I was gonna say, was it fucking pink? That was chrome, man. It was a Lexus.
And he starts kind of almost muttering to himself, not necessarily talking to you, but sort of going through. It's like, Witherspoon. And he sort of starts thinking, and he starts reeling off, almost kind of muttering away, sort of like street names. He sort of Lenox Avenue, Harlem.
Lenox Avenue, you say?
Aye.
As soon as he I'm sure. Give me 1 second. I've got to make sure that I did write Lenox Avenue somewhere, but I've just reread my notes and it is written somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe I just looked it up.
Car was taken out there for 8 p.m. He was having never mind what he was doing in that saloon. He come out, it was gone.
Can you tell us anything about Jackson, our friend Jackson, before the past couple of weeks? Like, would he have done anything that would have got the attention of anyone, or you, if you're investigating this?
First time I've seen anything about him. All I know is apparently some sort of famous author. I'd like it if you could maybe enlighten me.
Yeah, he wasn't that good an author. Made stuff up.
He wrote books on the occult.
Probably like this.
Yeah.
You probably have a field day writing stuff about this.
Ironically,
Jamie's dead.
It's probably him you should be talking to.
We all gave it up after we went to Peru and saw that weird guy drink fat out of people. So, And then he asked us here. And then we went to go see him and he's dead, so. You probably know more about it than we do. Except for he's really fascinated with this trip that went missing.
Which trip?
In that place. It would be that one that I have on this piece of paper that I have in a handout somewhere. There you go.
Egypt.
Yeah, there you go, that one. Did not go somewhere else after Egypt?
Was it Egypt?
They did go
They went on holiday.
Kind of. They didn't go on holiday, they went hunting for things.
They went on holiday.
And how exactly was he fascinated with this era expedition? We all know about Carlisle. Go on, Nenny.
We don't really know. We were going to talk to him and then, turn up, ask some questions, but the questions didn't get answered because,
he was dead. Stone cold, mate. On the floor. On his bed. Blood everywhere. Carvings in his head. You get the idea?
He looks at you kind of as a bit of an odd one.
It's fine by me. I'm not fucking Irish.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Mm-hmm.
It's a vernacular that I'm not particularly au fait with. If I say Loxley fellow, what does that mean to you?
Beyond me.
I don't know what a Loxley fellow is. Do either of you know what a Loxley fellow is?
Nope.
Okay.
Term for queer?
I don't believe so, no. And about this could you possibly identify where this picture might be? And I pull him out the photograph. The handout that's the photograph.
The photograph. Which one?
It's just called photograph to me.
When you open it, though, what's?
It's boats and then 2 buildings in the background.
Yep.
And I literally like put it on. I'm like, is this Dockland here in New York, or is this not somewhere you might possibly even recognize, sir?
So, just in case, I'm going to roll for this because I'm pretty sure he wouldn't know. But just in case. You never
Fumbles. The knowledge falls out of his brain.
28, he might know.
know. I'm not too sure, but their boats look like some sort of Chinese junkers, don't they?
Don't they just?
Well, they look like, but that building don't look Chinese. It doesn't.
No, just. I mean, I can't fucking see it, but.
I show it to Jax.
Yeah, but he still can't see it.
Hang on.
Quick, draw me a picture, Joe.
2 buildings. One looks like the Oxo building. One looks like possibly a domed ship, right? And then there's boats in front. Just like.
Where do you get that photo?
It was one of the things from Jackson's belongings. Being
like
that,
boats.
Yeah, I think it looks like Liverpool, but I might be wrong.
I thought it might be London, and the what's it called? There's a
Parliament?
No, not Parliament. There's I can't remember what it's called. It's not. It might be the college, on the one that's on the riverbank. I don't think it's the college. Can I because it doesn't matter. This is out of character knowledge. Can I make a intelligence check or something more applicable to see if I recognize? I did this, didn't I? I did do that. I rolled this in the last session. I seem to remember actually.
I think you did. So let me just. Where's Victor?
No, I can't have.
Because I mean, you're an archaeologist, so.
Because it's not going to be a spot hidden.
No, it needs to be something like a natural world or a geography or.
Yeah, but it will have been after the firearms rolls, because we got it from after we shot people, right?
Yeah.
So no, since then I've only rolled in the last session. I rolled power, I rolled occult, and I rolled spot hidden.
Okay.
And a sanity.
So without any other aids, I think it needs to be a natural world.
Natural world.
Or a very hard archaeology.
Very hard archaeology is better chances than just a random natural world.
Archaeology. All right, let's go for hard archaeology. I think that's probably about it.
Someone's got to fail.
Oh, when he gets a hard archaeology.
Boom. Okay.
I don't think we should roll for the rest of today.
No more rolls. No more like possibly chancing things. It's just
gonna throw a fight in, isn't he?
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not. Yeah. Rocks fall, everyone dies. So you're not sure about what the boat is, but you're pretty sure that's the Wangpu River in Shanghai.
Okay, it is Shanghai. So interesting. And I literally look at the officer and I'm like, have you had any particular connection to Shanghai with any of the things that you have come across, sir?
No, not to my knowledge.
That's a shame. So you don't know anything about the the Tiger Bar on Lantern Street. That's not here. Do you know of a place called the Tiger Bar on Lantern Street? Is there even a Lantern Street in New York?
So, bear me a second. No, never heard of it. I don't think there's one round here.
Okay.
Would you be able to get any information on Jackson, what he was doing, where he's been in the past couple of years?
That's my job, innit?
Well, that's handy.
Is there somewhere we can reach you if we have any more information? In fact, let us ask you, what is it you are looking for? What can we actually assist you with? So far, we have assaulted you with many questions, sir.
It seems so you don't really know. I'm trying to find out what he was doing. He's been here for a few years. Never caused no trouble. No
Jackson,
records.
he wouldn't be the right thing, I'm sure.
He would have been trying to research the cults at some point, but more specifically than that, we don't know.
And he
Were his
lets up...
notes there? Were his notes recovered?
No.
Interesting.
They took a bunch of stuff when they killed him. You could see he was missing.
I would be
he notes that
fairly
down.
certain that they took something because he was researching.
It was his journal. We don't have his journal. He took his journal everywhere, and they took his journal.
Yeah.
Pooh makes a small note of that. And he pulls out a little pocket watch and he looks down. Right. It's nearly 9. I need to go if I'm get to this funeral today. Hopefully something else will turn up then.
I offer you my condolences for whoever died.
He looks at you.
Somebody else died, so you went away.
He looks at you a bit strangely. Jackson's funeral.
Of course.
Why? That's quite soon.
That is incredibly quick for a funeral. Is it because he had no known family? It's just...
I think we know the cause of death, don't we?
I see.
Hope it's not an open cask.
He shoots you an odd look as he begins to walk out the door. Uncomfortable.
Where's the funeral?
Do you have a card there if we need to reach you for anything?
I'll find you. You can always find me at the precinct. But 14th. But maybe I'll see you at Cypress Hills later.
What time?
2.
We'll try to be there.
Tips his hat and he walks out.
Goodbye, sir.
He walks with purpose.
Well, he was useful.
He was quite useful.
Breakfast.
We go to breakfast now. Yeah. Not sure what he's worried about. I'm pretty sure we could have had that conversation whilst eating pancakes.
I fear we possibly have interrupted him before he got to say what he wanted to say.
Interrupted him with what?
Our questions. My questions.
Ah, fuck it. That's the police. What the fuck do they know? Pancakes?
We go get pancakes.
Okay. So you head to the diner that you went to yesterday. It's starting to pick up as people have evidently almost made their way to work. The snow is still falling lightly. And it's I suppose it's pretty chilly, but it's not like the winds that were the other day. The cafe itself is reasonably buzzing, although it seems as though people are almost finished with their meals and are leaving as you begin to take a table. It's not long before a waitress comes round and offers you coffee. And yeah. How do you spend your time eating?
Pancakes.
Pancakes.
Just straight up. I'll eat them pancakes, I'll drink that coffee. I'll talk about how annoying that Irish guy was. That's my morning.
Where now?
There's a few different things that I wouldn't mind checking, but let me just ask you guys a few questions. I wanted to know if you had any kind of if these meant anything to you. Are we still going to investigate?
Before we went to the diner, I would have gone back to the room and told What's his name?
Robert.
Robert. The funeral's up to if he's feeling up to it. We'll see him there. I think he would be upset if you didn't make the funeral.
Yeah, and there's a slight gladness that he will get to go to that, but also at the same time it's still really painful.
Right, so then we go for breakfast. Sorry. So handouts. There's somewhere to go.
So there are some things I would like to investigate if we are up to investigating and have some time.
Well, we're the three good investigators.
Exactly.
We don't rely on Robert for that at all.
I would like to go and do some research into the Nandi tribe. Oh, are we still going to investigate the Carlisle situation, or are we just done now? What are we doing here?
Well, I would assume that whatever Jackson was doing was based around the Carlisle expedition. They've got to be connected. Assuming that they took his notes, so you would suggest that whatever he's come across, they wanted to keep quiet, and I would guess he was researching the Carlisle expedition. There does seem to be a connection.
I wonder what information on the Carlisle expedition you can get in New York.
Well, I have a place to go for that. Do you want to go?
But it's more like, what is that place? Is it a library?
No, it would be the Waldorf Astoria.
What's that when it's at home?
It's a hotel. It's a hotel.
Why would we go to a hotel?
We would be looking for Erica, or at least a connection as to how to find Erica.
So the wife or the sister or whatever it is.
Sister, yes. I believe that is why we would go there.
Sounds like it.
I'm just rereading my notes.
Yeah, that's all right.
I've been up many hours. You see, I've made many notes.
But if my point is he's been here for 2 years, so he's managed to keep himself busy for 2 years on this information potentially. Maybe even 6 months or something. If it was just her, then he would have chatted to her once and then buggered off again.
You just thought so, right?
So,
this is Jackson.
Maybe he hasn't been here that long.
That's what the Irish dude said.
Okay, if you want to take him at his word. I mean, only reason is because he had this, and I pull out the matchbook and show you, and the photograph that you've already seen, and this on his person.
What's the matchbook do?
It's Greg. Can you share that for me?
Yeah.
Can I share these? I don't think I can share stuff with you. These are both Shanghai. I don't know what the connection with Shanghai is right now, but
thank you.
It would be.
Why would Shanghai's matchbook? Why would a matchbook from Shanghai be written in English?
That is why I asked the officer if it would be bar here. We're at a cafe, right?
You are.
Yeah, I just asked the waitress.
I literally just look over a waitress, and when she undoubtedly ignores me, I look at Jax.
Okay. There are a considerable amount of papers around on the newspapers, and if you take a second over to glance, you can see this. Does that come up?
What?
I didn't
Can't see anything.
No.
Didn't get anything.
Yeah, there's the tonight on the.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
No, I got it.
Oh, right, okay. The hell's the Harlem murders? You ever heard that shit?
No.
Right. I'll flag over a waitress and then ask her if she knows where
The bar is, yes.
Yeah, so I was just looking at what the name of the bar was.
The Shanghai Tiger, was it? Or
The stumbling tiger bar.
Stumbling Tiger?
In fact, I might just show her this and say,
Do I know where that is, by the way? Because
oh yeah.
Let me just have a very quick look at your backstory.
Oh, how much of that did I fill in? Oh, he's from New York.
I mean, you must know where Chinatown is, right? If there's a Chinatown in New York.
He's New York Irish.
Yeah, so we just go down there and. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said Irish so loudly.
Even on your travels.
I know you're a dick. I'm ignoring you.
Oh, that's all right then.
Even on your travels, you've never heard of that.
What does the waitress say?
About the thing, the card.
The matchbook.
She's never heard of that place.
And I'm going to ask about the
Harlem. Chinatown and ask.
Does she know anything about the Harlem murders?
Why? Who doesn't?
Me, because I'm out of town. Fuck's sake.
And
kids these days.
She doesn't look too impressed at your profanity, and she talks about how there's been 9 people murdered with similar marks on the forehead. That's how they link them together. And how this man, Hilton Adams, has been convicted of them last October.
I'll pass her over $5 or whatever, and then say, what do you call it? Why they call them the Harlem murders then?
Because they're in Harlem.
All of them?
Well, majority of them. That's where they found Hilton Adams over a body.
Right. Thank you.
You don't suppose we should possibly go to Sing Sing and give him a personal visit, do you? I don't relish the idea of walking into prison, but it might be smart.
That's something I think we need to take a bit of setting up. We're not just going to be going and visiting him.
We have our contact. Possibly Poole can set it up for us, but he did say that his boss wouldn't be able to, was blocking him. So maybe it might be difficult.
Maybe we speak to him again at the funeral.
Whatever you guys fancy doing, I guess.
How far is it to Chinatown from where we are?
Right, let's have a
look. There is still a Chinatown in the 1920s.
So let's have a look at this little map here. Just trying to think. In terms of a Chinatown per se, sorry, I'm just having a look in one of the other boroughs to see if there's anything there. I suppose it's not really collected together enough to sort of be, as you think of like a Chinatown as we have now. There are parts where people settle near the docks, but nothing really like a Chinatown. There's been such an influx of foreigners to find refuge within New York. It's all a bit ramshackle. I suppose Harlem is as you would expect it, a more black area. And probably more of an ethnic minority there in general, but not necessarily Chinatown.
I think we head down the docks then and see.
Do we want to split up?
I don't mind.
Really? But you love being on your own.
Just whatever.
I wouldn't mind going to Prospero House to speak to Jonah Kensington, really, if I'm honest. He might give us some more information as to what Jackson had been working on.
I'll go with the boy. James, you go Chinatown.
Yeah. Right. We meet in the...
I'll see you at the funeral.
Yeah, I've written that down somewhere.
2 o'clock, Cypress Hills.
Cypress Hills. Yeah.
Right. Who's up first?
Do you want to do dogs first?
Yeah.
Because then I can quickly grab myself a drink.
So I guess we head down the docks.
Okay.
Or I head down the docks.
So it probably takes you, I don't know, maybe about half an hour to walk towards sort of the docks, as it were. So you're following along sort of the Hudson River, and it sort of just goes on beyond the place known as Hell's Kitchen. And there are loading docks at sort of both ends. The buildings themselves are kind of warehouses. They're powered very high with freight, and there's a small set of offices attached to these.
I guess I start asking people if they've heard of the bar that I've forgotten the name of already.
The Stumbling Tiger.
The Stumbling Tiger.
Okay, roll me a luck, because you're gonna have to be like super fucking lucky.
We know I'm not.
I mean, like extreme. No. So you keep talking along with people, and I suppose no one really seems to know where this is. Even the sailors that sort of go, transport across. And you end up stumbling upon a man going by the name of Arthur Emerson, and he's kind of in his 50s, and he seems polite enough. Well, why are you asking all these questions?
Our friend recommended the place to me. I wanted to check it out.
Seems like a lot of effort to find a bar.
Nothing better to be doing at the moment.
Always work here if you need work.
I might take you up on that at some stage.
Maybe just would it be education? I suppose I'm thinking like a general sort of intelligence-like check. So,
Intelligence?
Yeah, roll me just an intelligence.
What is intelligence? Oh, stupid. Oh, but he is stupid with that
He's
roll.
pretty stupid. Okay. Let me just have a look at the handouts that you did get. Sorry, there are so many handouts in this that it's quite a lot to work with. Did you get that one? No. Okay. So yeah, he just seems like a pretty nice guy. You know, and I suppose there's almost that hint of, well, actually, maybe some manual labour and a bit of travelling would be good. Stayed around for a while. Maybe it might be useful.
Well, he doesn't burn any bridges when it comes to things like that. But I guess he's also, particularly down the docks, would be quite a useful guy to have around, as he's fucking massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll thank the guy. I'll tell him I may be back to Swordsman.
Okay. And he kind of tips his hat, and as you're sort of leaving, almost gives like a cheesy kind of almost like a jingle, something about Emerson always delivering on time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to do?
I guess I'll be doing that until like maybe sort of 12-ish.
Yeah.
So a few hours, and then
so just casing the place.
Yeah, I'll start heading back towards the cemetery if I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately with that luck roll, that's kind of all you managed to find and talk to. Jax, where were you going?
I'm just babysitting the kid.
So you're going with Victor?
Yeah.
Okay, and where were you heading?
Prospero House.
Prospero House.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just out of my own curiosity, is that DM, what's led you to Prospero?
Because we found out that it was Jackson Elias's publisher.
Mm-hmm.
And it might give us some more information as to what he's been doing over the last period of time.
Okay. So Prospero House is over on Lexington Avenue near 35th.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take you too long, I suppose. You know, it's not the best of walks in this kind of weather, but it's certainly not the worst. I suppose. Yeah. As you kind of, if you kind of get up to there, it's almost one of these houses and kind of places that someone's working out of instead of like a shop itself or a particular place. It's almost built into the almost it's the houses themselves. Apologies, I'm not describing that very well, but it's kind of almost those classic sort of high steps that goes up into those houses. There's a nice sort of brushed silver plate out the front which says Prospero House Publishing. But this is next door to people who just are living there. So you find it with reasonable ease.
Okay. I just go up and knock on the door, I guess.
Okay. And it takes just a few moments for someone to come and answer to the door. Where's it gone? There's so many bloody people in this arc. So a sort of a short, squat white man who's balding on top starts to answer the door, and he's got these sort of almost uncontrollable sort of curls of graying sort of red hair, and he's wearing sort of small glasses, and he's sort of almost continuously sort of fiddling with them. His suits are quite nice. They flatter kind of his portly frame, and he looks immaculate. And almost as he opens this door, there's kind of a waft of sort of musty aftershave comes towards you, and he's, yes.
I'm wondering if you can introduce me to Jana Kensington. It's in connection to Jackson Elias.
Oh, and he looks genuinely shocked at the fact that you would recognize and know him. So come in, please. And he steps to the side and allows you into the house. It's reasonably sort of grandiose in the sense that it's pretty nice for this kind of area. It's not overdone, but he obviously makes a pretty good living. You can see stairs sort of leading up to where you think he might live, and he brings you into the parlor. Jonah, call me Jonah.
Thank you, Jonah. As I'm sure you've seen the news today, Jonah. Have you?
I have.
A tragic loss. The
world is a darker place because of it.
Isn't it? This is my colleague here is Jax of Mr. Jackson's last books fame, and I am the victim Muse, the son of Jakob Muse. Jackson had just invited us here to help him with some investigations,
and he starts to walk off, not necessarily paying the most attention. Whether he's bored, he's a very eccentric person. He's not necessarily the most interested in you. This isn't a man who's used to listening. he goes and he starts playing with a decanter and pouring 3 glasses of a whiskey-looking substance. Carry on.
I like this man now.
I'd like give you a sideways glance, Jackson. I'm just like, can I roll? Is there like a body language or like a talk?
That'd be more like psychology if you're trying to read him.
No, I'm trying to like say something to Jax without saying it.
Um,
I'm just trying to like body language follow my lead.
Trying to hint to him.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think what would probably be the best for that. I suppose I'm quite happy for you to do it. Are you trying to do it without being seen? Because this guy's back is to you.
Yeah, so, kind of. It's like whispering, really, more than anything.
A whispering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just roll a stealth, and unless it's like a critical fail. Yeah, it's just not 100. So
I just like kind of lean over to you, and I'm like, oh, keep your eyes out. I'm going to ask him for something and see if he like looks anywhere or anything, Jax. And I wait for him to pour the drinks and come back, I guess.
Yeah. He doesn't notice that you've stopped talking almost mid-sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings you over and it passes you these tumblers with the whiskey in. And you can smell it. It's actually pretty good quality for what you're used to. So, what's brought you here?
Just some questions about Jackson, really. I was wondering, what kind of works do you publish? Is it all similar to his works, or is it a vast array of things?
And he pauses for a moment as he's almost looking to make this big kind of grandiose speech and sort of make it sort of more than it is. You see, we are not like the other publishing companies. We publish what needs to be published, not in the interest of the readers. And we want them to have it for generations to come. We don't have these fads. Boy, we are in it for the arts.
Of course. I was just obviously we got called to New York to help Jackson with what he was investigating, but before we even got the chance to talk to him, he was brutally murdered. I was honestly wondering if you had any first drafts or early drafts of what he was working on, or just current notes that he sent over to you for editing.
And at the moment of mentioning about his murder, he's sort of, and a hand goes to his head. He's very, very dramatic. So you just asked him about unpublished works, have you?
Yeah, just like whatever he was working on at the moment. If he sent over drafts and unpublished drafts, yeah.
Okay. I may have something that will be of use. Please sit. I'll be back in a moment. And he shuffles off. His feet don't really leave the floor, and he sort of waddles on his way out, and you can hear him go down the hallway, but not upstairs. And it takes a few moments before he comes back.
While he's gone, what else is in this room? Are there any like manuscripts or anything in this room?
It's kind of like in the sense of like a parlor, so there's no desk. It isn't necessary for business. There are Chesterfield sort of like sofas arranged so that you can all sit round and talk. There's one by the fire, obviously this is just the room that they read and greet people in. There's nothing really stored here.
There's no books or anything just like left out for where he's been reading something or anything.
Nothing beyond the usual. I suppose there's the morning paper, but no actual work.
Fine.
Yeah.
I'm sitting wait.
Okay. What are you doing, Jax? Anything?
Sitting here and waiting.
I hand you my whiskey.
Oh, that's great. Honestly, I'm just not talking because the guy super annoys me, and if I say anything, probably jeopardize it. So I'm just sitting here and making sure that this guy doesn't get racist.
Okay. So after a few moments, you can start to hear him shuffling back, and he brings a file, and within it he opens up, and there is a letter that he begins to read you. You can't see the front of it, but he starts reading, and he goes, "Dear Jonah, big news. There is a possibility that not all of the members of the Carlisle expedition died. I have a lead. And you can see him almost like shuffling his glasses. It looks incredibly difficult for him to read. And it's not even that dark in here. Through the authorities, I have some cult angle. And he's reading and he can't necessarily make out all the words. Something about a different tune. You wouldn't believe the... I don't know. Some juicy notes coming my way, apparently. This may make us all rich. Blood and kisses. J. And he passes you over it's quite crisp piece of letter, and it's dated from August the 8th, 1924, from Nairobi, and it's clearly, from what you've seen before, this is Jackson's. This is his script.
So Jackson was in Nairobi.
It would appear so.
When's the date on the top right of the letter?
August the 8th, 1924.
Alright, what's the date today? That's a stupid question without knowing what we're on today. We're on January the 15th of something.
You are. I can find that for you. Yeah, January the 17th. 17th, 2 days later.
17th?
Oh, well, yeah.
January.
The hell did we do for a day?
Is it 1925 or 26? I've got a feeling it's 26. I will confirm that for you later.
So 4 years ago, then.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Or a year and a half ago.
I'm so confused.
Where are these handouts?
How the hell... What do we do for an entire day? Because we've missed an entire day here.
You were probably drunk.
Well, if it's the 17th right now, apparently the author was killed, or at least it was published on January the 15th.
Okay.
Okay. So I may have botched the timeline slightly.
All right, okay, that's fine.
Where is this flipping paper?
Is this the letter that he's sending to that he's passing to me?
Yeah.
While you're looking, I ask him, did Jackson always sign off blood and kisses?
It was usually his thing. You know his humor.
Quite frankly, my sir, I do not know his humor.
You took that well.
Yeah, he doesn't really catch on.
How long has he been in New York?
Who? Sorry?
Jackson. You know, the
Jackson.
guy who died. Okay.
In and out for years. He would always stop by, and anytime he had notes and something to publish, we worked together for a long time.
Do you know where he went? When he went? You got like logs or anything?
I never kept tabs on him, but he's been all over the world.
Did he ever go to China?
To
Shanghai
China?
in particular?
I will just double check and confirm this for you. I don't think. Not to my knowledge. I don't believe he went to Asia. Wasn't quite his thing.
And you don't know about anything called the Stumbling Tiger Bar?
No, that's news to me.
10 Lantern Street or anything like that?
I'm afraid not.
Okay, I'm just gonna sit down and drink this whiskey before I say something horrific.
Okay. Here we go. Right. Sorry, I've put it under a different name because that would be helpful. So, there you go.
Oh, yeah, no doubt that's pretty hard to read.
Yeah, but then so as you're starting to look at this, he's pulling out another piece of paper, and you can see him hesitate. He certainly doesn't look comfortable with this.
I like glance at Jax again, and I kind of like that's the piece of paper we want, like not the one we've just been given.
Right. How many doors are there to this place?
The in and out, the one you came through.
Cool. And does he have to go through us? Or is it behind?
I suppose he's come back from the doorway, so he probably is the side of the door to him.
Okay. I'll start wandering whilst he decides whether or not to read it towards the door. Not like directly towards it, but like looking around the room and making sure that I'm in between him and the door should he just randomly decide to leg it for whatever reason.
Right, okay.
What is that you've got there, sir?
Okay, he kind of he doesn't really clock on the fact that you look like you're making the way to the door. I don't see how it'll help. However, I'm embarrassed for him. You see, he looks genuinely pained and a little bit upset by it. And he. Give me a second.
Sorry, mate. I went camping with him for a couple of weeks. There's nothing embarrassing that I haven't seen.
I suppose you're not right as yourself. You can't be too judgmental. And he starts to read, and it doesn't make sense. Many names, many forms, but all the same and toward one end. Need help. Too big, too ghastly. These dreams like the Carlyles. Check that psychoanalyst files. All of them survived. They'll open the gate. Why? So the power is dangerous. The power is real. Many threads beginning. The books are in Carlyle's safe. Coming for me. Will the ocean protect? Oh, no quitters now. Must tell and make readers believe. Should I scream for them? Let's scream together. I don't know what he was on about, but... And he shows you the piece of paper, and it's really easy to see the deterioration in his handwriting. It's pretty much illegible.
When was this one written?
There's no date.
When did you receive this letter?
He had it about maybe 6 months ago. I was worried about him and thought he'd gone over the edge. I thought a little while in the sanitarium might do him good. He trusted no one, though.
Did you put him there?
Yeah. You know what he's like. He's stubborn.
So you talked to him?
now and again.
No, I mean like about this in particular.
Oh, we would only talk. He didn't trust having everything written down, so kept all the data in his head, he would say.
That doesn't make any sense. They took his journal.
Indeed.
And I wonder how important it must have been to have written down.
Is there anything else that springs to mind for you? Something that he made you promise, perhaps to keep secret. Or also, is there a handout for that second thing that you just read out to us?
I will find it. It is quite literally illegible, though.
Uh-huh.
So I will keep looking for that. But here we go. And what would you do with such information?
Work out what we're supposed to do next, sir. I've come all the way from Oxford to be here.
Ah, wonderful city. I was there back in the day.
Indeed, wonderful. Trying to make my father proud.
And when you say next, what do you mean next? What do you think you can do, boy?
Do you mean what do you think you can do, boy?
I'm an archaeologist by trade, sir. I intend to continue investigating what Jackson was investigating, come to the bottom of it, and then hopefully get some kind of resolution to his killing, to his bloody murder.
It is what he would deserve.
Indeed. And if nothing else, perhaps I can finish the book that he was working on if I recover his notes. I can continue to finish his last book, and you can continue to publish it if you want to.
And you see him sort of like ponder this for a minute, and whether there's a look of greed or a look of excitement in and he sort of walks around. He's like, what a story that could make. It's sort of under his breath, and as he's sort of taking all this in, a chapter fulfilled, the author himself murdered. Why is there no finer art? And he's not necessarily posing any questions to you. He's not asking, merely trapped in his own thoughts as he begins pacing and taking nice big slurps of whiskey.
I have a couple more questions, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes. And he almost waves you off instead of being interrupted.
Do you publish any other writers who cover the same topics as Jackson, or is it just Jackson that was your man?
I mean, none wrote like Elias, did they? He had a way with words, and that enthusiasm always came through.
Of course. Are you coming to his funeral?
Yes. I believe I'll be there. This continuation, boy, can you do him justice?
I should like to think so. Between myself and Robert, I'm sure you read about Robert. Yes, I'm sure between the two of us we can do him justice.
Roll a persuade or a charm.
I don't want to do either of those things.
I'll give you advantage.
No, it's not going to help.
No.
Honestly, if I'm deeply sincere about it, I believe that Robert would do it more justice, but I cannot speak for him. I can try, but
I'm gonna slam my massive clammy hands down on the table and say, "Look, if the boy says he can do it, he can do it."
Okay.
And then try to intimidate him.
You're going to try and intimidate. Okay. Joe, do you want to just push the roll under the belief that Robert might do it good? So you can see if you can roll under a 7. Who knows? And Andy, are you trying to intimidate?
Yeah. I'll wait till Joe.
Sorry, somebody was interrupting me. Fair enough.
Okay, do you want to try and push the roll?
Yeah, so just roll again.
Yeah, but you're
under
trying to
a
get
7.
under a 7.
Praise be to your squiddy effigy.
Oh,
No.
Oh, god damn it.
I tried
use,
to pray to the right god and everything.
Yeah, I'll use 4 points of luck for that.
You're going to use 4 points of luck. Okay. And he almost sort of bolts up straight as he sort of looks at you. He's like, I suppose if you have faith in him. And he pulls out one more thing from the file. And it looks as though it's a small quarto volume of about 40 pages that hand stitched together. And he passes that over to you. I will find them for you any second. So many flip notes.
This is his book.
This is an unpublished work that it would appear that he was working on. So I'll give you that to you, and you can do what you want with it.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I hate this fat, greedy bastard. Hi, do you have any unpublished works so we can figure out why our friend died? No. Oh, wait. What if we give you more money and finish his book? Then maybe?
The way of the world, my friend. The way of the world.
What? But he does have good whiskey.
He does have a whiskey.
Does he have a clock on the wall in this room?
There's a grandfather clock in the corner. It's sort of looking like it's about probably quarter to. By the time you've got to Harlow and talk to him, probably about 11:45.
Okay, ages, huh?
No need to ask him if he wants to travel with us, which is what I was going to do.
I would not. No, thank you for that one.
Did you send that over? Or...
I gave it to Jax. It's up to him what he does with it.
Okay.
You can use it for wiping my ass.
That's what I'm worried about.
I'll just hand it.
I mean, if like it was handed to Jax and Jax is just like literally like waving it around as if it doesn't matter, it would be like, would you mind if I saw that as soon as we left? I don't think I'd ask while I was still in there.
I'll put it in my jacket.
Yeah.
Have you flicked through it at all? Or are you not reading it at the moment?
There's no point reading it right now.
All right.
Have you just put it down, or you just immediately put it in your
jacket?
Kind of do want to read it while we're here. I look at him and I just ask, do you have many other things you need to do before the funeral, sir?
I suppose just get dressed and make myself presentable for him.
Of course. Well, it's been hard. Would you mind terribly if you to pour us another whiskey or two? Losing such a friend would.
And he glances over to Jax, and he's still quite unnerved, and he goes and starts pouring. But this time they are small measures.
At which point in time I gesture to Jax to hand me the book, I guess.
Alright, I'll hand him the book and expect the whiskey in return.
I nod to you, like already knowing that's the
That's
deal.
what's going to trade. Okay. So, are you flicking through it?
Yeah, I probably as soon as I get it, I'll just start flicking through it.
Okay. So, frequently, maybe every dozen pages, there's a blank page. Sometimes a single word is repeated for several pages, and it seems as though some of the entries are written in agitation and could be barely read at all. But they're definitely Elias's hands from the stuff that you've seen from your father keep.
Okay. And this one particular page that has come up is like the one that stands out to me or something, or?
These are kind of like the main entries once pieced together over 40 small. If you imagine almost like a little notebook stitched together, like A6.
Yeah. The repeated words don't mean anything.
Not really. No, there's nothing kind of obvious about them at all.
Sure. I take a seat, slumping back into the chair, and wait for him to talk at us some more.
I pour both whiskies into each other and
he starts getting into a repetitive monotone. How great the old days were. Could you imagine publishing this works? Well, I did it. He seems ever so slightly tipsy and incredibly narcissistic.
I understand, sir. Must be very proud of your achievements. Please excuse me. Do you mind if I keep this? And I kind of wave the book in front of him.
He sort of, you can see him kind of like, and then he looks at Jax.
Before he even really finishes, I'm like, well, thank you then, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure it will help me with, or if not myself, Robert, with trying to get the penmanship correct.
And you can see kind of, he doesn't like being the one played or the one sort of not winning at any sort of game in life. I believe I need to get ready. My suit needs pressing.
Obviously, sir. So do we. Shall we go, Jax?
Yes, we also have pressing needs.
I just nod and I get up to leave.
Okay. Are either split parties doing anything before going to the funeral?
As I don't own a nice suit, I know. I think I'm going to go straight there and lurk at the back.
Okay.
I don't think I brought clothes for a funeral, so yeah. I'll just go.
Yeah.
Also, it's only Jackson, so.
If I see both of you not wearing a suit, I assume it's just like maybe normal here to not.
It's the 1920s, isn't it? I guess you wouldn't have. But I've probably got a suit on anyway.
Yeah,
that's what you'd wear.
Just not the nicest ones, like your Sunday best.
It's just everyday wear. He'll have trousers and a shirt on. That's what you wear. Jeans and t-shirt doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I'll go.
You're going straight there?
I just go as I am.
And I presume everyone's wearing like big coats anyway, because it's January
it's cold, yeah.
in New York. It's freezing.
And it's still snowing, yeah. So Cypress Hill Cemetery is reasonably easy to find. It's within Brooklyn. And I suppose upon getting there, it's a reasonably small, nondescript sort of church in itself. A solemn, light snow shower sort of carries on through the day. The sort of wind against your cheeks makes it ever so bitter as you're sort of stood still. The ceremony being almost entirely outside. Robert silently stands there through the ceremony. A small, if you manage to glance, amount of tears you see running down his cheeks. Although, he, does what he should, and as a man, coughs and covers it up. Even as time goes on, there's a very small turnout. You can see in the background that Lieutenant Poole is, sort of leaning against a tree in the background as he watches you, not disturbing the ceremony, but keeping an eye out. As a nondescript sort of police car is placed along the side of the road. The only mourners that turn up besides yourselves is Jonah, and there appears to be another old man. I suppose old man? No, he's probably sort of maybe in about his late 30s, and a young black lady. And as the ceremony goes on, it would seem that the priest himself, and he starts to encourage people to talk about things that they've shared, and it would seem that this young black lady was Jackson's niece Willa, and the other gentleman that you don't recognise is Mr. Ramsey, who is merely here to ensure that the ceremony is carried out, as he is his solicitor. And as the ceremony goes on, it's non-denominational. He starts to almost address all of you individually, inviting you to tell stories of times that you've spent with Jackson.
As he gets to me, I rather bashfully kind of consider the only time that I've ever spent any time with Jackson was moments after his death, running through his room, shooting a pistol at some people running away. I decline. I kind of wave it on, and I just like look solemn.
Okay.
But while I'm doing, I'm for most of the funeral, I'm just like doing my best to look kind of around, not necessarily the people here, but like to see if there's anyone skulking in the back, as it were, or like anybody observing the funeral from afar.
There are a couple of people, yeah, and sort of if you look at them, they look like they're taking notes. They're a respectful distance away.
Taking notes. Kind of dress, kind of clothes.
So it looks like
coats
they're
and hats, I assume. Like
yeah. Roll, I suppose, considering the distance that they're away, roll a spot hidden just to see if you can see that far. No. It's difficult to make out any identifying features, but it looks as though it is a reasonably young female.
Sure.
How far away? And how many of these people?
There's probably about 4 or 5. Only one of them is gotten closer than the rest. They seem to be sort of mulling around, but all of them are taking notes.
As I kind of like rather bashfully turn down the offer to say anything and like look around then after, and I see her, I take that moment to kind of like step away and start approaching her.
Yeah. Okay.
As I'm getting up to her, like unless she runs away.
No. She actually starts walking towards you.
I get up to her and I'm like, I believe you must be Rebecca Schusenberg, correct?
And there's a spugness as you recognise who she is. The very one. And you knew Mr. Elias?
Not very well. My father knew him better, but my friends, they knew him.
And what did you think? Was it murder?
Of course it was.
And
I was there. I saw the murderers run away and I shot my friend's gun at them.
And what does this mean for Hilton? Still an innocent until proven guilty? Should he be released? Did he have accomplices? Who was it?
Frankly, I'm here to ask you those questions myself. Why was it? What was Hilton? What was Hilton found with? I believe he was found over the body, right?
He was.
Any weapon in hand, or?
Supposedly. I have sources that say different.
What do your sources say?
Not necessarily him.
Obviously,
she's enjoying this game. She is right and you are wrong. She knows things you don't. She has connections. She's powerful. She's reveling in this.
I just look at her and I'm like, so you're fully aware that the bloody tongue were to blame then?
And her ears prick up.
Yeah.
The bloody tongue.
Of course, the cult that cuts those marks in their heads.
And you see her scribbling ferociously. And
what?
Well,
I didn't know this. I thought you were the best.
fact or fiction will be decided later. It's merely information gathering.
Of course. While you're at it, I would look into Nairobi if you are really going to look into the bloody tongue.
And she looks at you for a second, unsure of the exact remark, but there's something going on in the background.
I like I stare at her and I try and work out whether or not she's like realized that I've given her two different facts. Like the bloody tongue is not from Nairobi, but like is.
Do you want to make a psychology roll to see if you think she's twigged it?
This is where I fail so miserably because I have absolutely no skill in psychology. It's fine. I spend 1 luck.
Okay. She appears as though one of those things has twigged, but she is still not sure about the other. There was more attention to the mention of Nairobi than anything else.
Okay, so she's probably like investigating that. So I'm just like, obviously you know about the Carlisle connection. Then yes.
Well, some say. I don't know if it's the same murderer, but certainly he picked a wealthy man to murder. Whether the same happened to the Carlyles, who knows?
Of course, I hear they're all alive though.
Wouldn't believe it. No evidence.
I have some evidence, but
Make
investigating.
a fast talk, because you are trying to deceive her.
This is even worse.
Oh, there's a lot of red on that screen now.
It's just red.
Now. It needs a good source before you can make any statement like that.
Of course. I mean, I have the notes directly from Jackson Elias's publisher, so a source is a source. Unfortunately, I have the only copy though.
Well, how about you come down to 43rd, have a little bit of a visit at my office at the Times. I share some things with you, you share some things with me.
Frankly, thank you for the invite. I was intending to come there after the funeral anyway, but we will gladly accept. I hope you don't mind me inviting my friends. They knew Jackson personally.
No bother.
I shall see you there, and I immediately just turn around and walk back.
Okay. You can see her still writing. She doesn't follow. She's respectful of the funeral, but she got what she wanted. It's not long afterwards when, whilst Victor is talking to this female reporter, that an older gentleman approaches both you, James and Jax. This is the gentleman that you've not met before, who has been referred to, as it sounds throughout, as Mr. Ramsey. And he walks over to you. Excuse me, gentlemen. Might I have a moment of your time?
I'll nod.
Okay. He looks uncomfortable, expecting almost a bit more of an acknowledgement. He's quite small and wiry, especially in considering to you. He is also black himself, and you can see him. He looks filled with all this nervous energy. His eyes flick around as he speaks. He's constantly fidgeting, but he is wearing a very expensive bespoke suit. He looks, I suppose, he clearly looks as though he's going bald, but he's definitely tried to oil over a good comb over to make it work. Gentlemen, tomorrow we would be reading out the Mr. Elias's will. Tomorrow? No, day after, the 19th. You see. I would really like it if you would come over and I believe there are some importance in this will for yourselves, if you would be so kind.
What's the address?
He passes you a business card, and he would like you to come to Harlem, which is 124th Street, next to Lenox Avenue. And there's I suppose as the silence goes on, gentlemen, will you be coming?
Time?
Whenever suits you. I do not believe there will be a large attendance, but I can work around you.
We'll be there.
Thank you. It's a sad day. Really, really, really sad day.
I'll nod again.
He stands there. There's an awkward moment as you see him tapping his foot, not really quite sure on the cue to leave. And
this is your cue to leave.
Yeah, no, of course. And he walks away, looking to go over to Willa. Yeah. So the funeral concludes as everyone begins putting a handful of soil onto the coffin. Robin in particular struggles with this and spends a while staring down into the grave, and takes almost a little bit of coaxing to move on, as he's not
I'll
the
go and put
last
my
in
hand
line.
on his shoulder and just sort of guide him away.
Yeah, and he follows without resistance, but he's definitely not present with the whole situation. And there's no wake. There's no one's organised one.
There's no booze anyway.
There's no booze.
You should have come to the publisher.
Prospero House.
Yeah.
That's a very good point, actually. They're very free with whiskey in prohibition.
Yep. The rich do not give a fuck.
He's just that type of dude.
Yeah. He's probably disappointed that no one had commented on how nice it was to have some when it's so hard to get hold of.
I didn't have any, so.
And I'm a bastard, so.
So the funeral ends, and I come over to you guys, and I'm I just explain what kind of happened to me. That was the reporter, the one that reported about about his death. She invited us to go to her offices to discuss leads, because she believes that we could be mutually helpful to her, especially with the notes that we got from his publisher, and especially with her knowledge of what was going on at the time in the city.
Sure.
Any objections? Any desires to go anywhere else?
Does she have alcohol like the last place?
I assume there is a desk somewhere in the offices with a small bottle of whiskey that you might be able to raid.
Oh, then we're all good.
Glove check.
You fast talking.
I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't promise it. I don't promise you any. I didn't promise you any though, Jax.
Yeah, you'll have an angry Jax.
There's a large difference there. But since I've got nothing else to do, then yeah, fair enough.
Okay. Well then, there's a couple of other things that I might want to check out. If I don't know if she was going straight back there right now, but I know it's not my father's favorite place, but I kind of need to go to a library of a few different things.
Okay.
If we have the time. Perhaps it's something that the newspaper office can actually help us with. So we can do that if we want to, but I doubt it.
So I suppose it's probably about 4:00 in the afternoon now. You've maybe got about an hour and a half of daylight left, maybe an hour, probably.
Do we know what time the newspaper office shuts?
I suppose in terms of a newspaper office, you would assume that it would always be open because they're trying to get stories out for the next day. Classic journalism. And it's not necessarily like an open to the public sort of place anyhow.
Okay.
Just go along and see her. I mean, so far today we've managed to get his script, so, and then go to a wonderful funeral. So I guess we should get a little bit more information out of it. Then hopefully go to bed at a reasonable hour.
Speak for yourself, Jax. I'm probably going to be up all night researching more things.
Yeah, but you're not 60, mate.
And half cut.
Yeah.
Let's go to the newspaper office then. Yeah, let's just like rock up there and walk in.
Okay. So Robert retires. He's not feeling up to it still. He just generally doesn't want to be around people at this moment. It doesn't take long, I suppose, as you're walking through Harlem, I suppose. As the day gets on, it is rougher, but there's not a credible amount of people on the streets because of the snow itself. Now, as you're sort of coming up to 43rd Street, you can see that the New York Times itself has recently expanded. It's a much nicer and newer building than anything around it, and I suppose rather than the offices in the Times Square, sort of as Times Square was called, the headquarters of the New York Times, it was almost like a bustling hive of journal activity. So I suppose in terms of when you get in, it's a reasonably big foyer. For what it is, if you imagine those sort of old Wall Street buildings, it's quite nice, it's new, there's sort of marble inside, it's hustle and bustle, and it looks as though it splits off into many different departments.
Is there a reception desk of any kind?
Yeah. As you sort of walk up to quite a small desk, there is a rather grumpy looking man there.
I take a glance at the grumpy looking man. I take another glance, look like over my shoulder back at Jax, and I'm just like, I give him a kind of like nod towards the desk, and I'm like, he seems like your kind of guy, Jax.
What's the lassie's name? Schoenberg.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, I'll just walk out to him there. Have you got a Schoenberg here?
And he takes a drag of a cigarette, and yes.
Do you know where she's at?
And he just points as he's almost he's kind of got like a paper in one hand, and he just points down, and it looks as though it's there's kind of like a news department for crimes in itself. As it leads through there. So there's kind of...
It's quite obvious that it's just...
Yeah, so there's all these sort of rooms off each way with sort of swingy double doors, and there's a little plaque over each next to the doorway.
But it doesn't seem like we're going to get stopped if we just walk in.
It seems as though, considering even though it's like sort of 4 in the afternoon, it's pretty busy. So everyone's sort of running back and forth. No one seems to really give a second glance. It's not a secure building.
I'll just say, many thanks, and then walk off.
And he grunts to you.
As we walk off, I look at Jackson and I'm like, looks like you've made a lifelong friend there.
Can't wait.
Birds of a feather.
Oh, maybe you can stick around for the next 2 years like Jackson did.
Oh, attachment difficulties are hard, aren't they? So as you move through these swinging double doors, it is really loud in here. The newsroom is just people back and forth. There's a switchboard where people are being put through. The phones are constantly ringing. And everyone's walking back and forth. Someone almost bumps into you, James, that it's that chaotic and busy in there. And across the way, you can see the small, dark complexioned woman with wavy black hair, and she's sat down. And there's no one around her. Everyone else is almost talking to people, going through different things. There's an air of silence around her, and she looks hard at work at an almost immaculate desk.
Does it look like it's going to be hard to get to her?
Hard in the sense of,
like pushing through people?
No, not pushing through people.
Just
It's busy, but you're not going to have to. You're not trying to fight through a bullpen sort of thing.
Sure. Regardless of that fact, I turn to James and I'm like, James, would you do the honours? That's her. Here at the path.
I'll start walking towards her.
I kind of like
pushing out of the way.
Yeah. And after a while, people start to clear the way. Almost as this behemoth starts making his way through the crowd.
I gesture to Jax if he wants to go next before me.
Whatever, dude. I'll just walk.
I follow on.
Okay. Is anyone approaching the desk or her, or?
Yeah.
Just walk straight up.
Once we get there,
I'll push
Okay.
Victor in front.
Okay.
And loom behind him.
Okay. It takes a considerable amount of time to actually realise that you're there. She's so enthralled within this.
I do loom well.
She's working well. You do loom well, but she hasn't. She hasn't got that sort of perception feeling of, she's so engrossed in this work, she just doesn't have that feeling where someone's looking at you.
So I am pretty sure I'd make myself clear if she didn't show any sign of noticing in the first 2 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Even then, it takes a considerable few clears of your throat to actually gain her attention.
I hate you.
Yeah. Another one adds to the list. You've arrived.
A good few minutes ago.
Doesn't care. Goes over her head. To the point, not that she doesn't get it. Doesn't care. And there's genuinely a moment of she's looking at really wanting to gain something from you, but really not wanting to leave this piece of work. And it takes her a few seconds before she sort of gives you all her full attention.
Before she does that, I'm like, or as she starts to give us her full attention, I'm just like, what are you working on?
Today's story, writing up the funeral, although something is missing. And you can see her almost slightly hold her hand out towards you.
His life.
Not quite catchy though, is it?
Not quite. Have you seen the body?
No. It was gone before anyone could get there. If only I could have.
If only you could have seen the cuts on his forehead?
It's going to be the same as before, nothing new. What about... I don't know. The scene, the what happened, there's got to be some way I can get an edge on the others.
I mean, we walked in and there was 2 guys hovering over him who immediately bolted when we got in the room. Also, he had a hole cut out of him.
I give her a smirk as Jax literally just spills the beans.
And she's kind of leaning towards Jax, looking at you like this ugly kind of old man, and suddenly her eyes light up, and you've not seen this in years. A female, paying you very good attention, holding on to your every word. Yes, go on, and what? And she almost seems like she's getting off on a very unsavory topic.
Well, in that case, I'm backing out. That's not cool. I'm a bit weirded out. I can't deal with that.
Anyone who finds Jax attractive is too weird for him.
It's not necessarily. If you think of kind of a means to an end, I think this lady would do anything to get her story.
I mean, that's all right. I don't really need anything being done, so
And she's waiting there with bated breath. She's like, and what next? What happened when you came in? I didn't know you were there.
You missed the best bit. Basically, I gave my gun to this kid here, and it turns out he can't shoot for shit.
I'm sorry, it's not something we train for when we're studying archaeology. You see.
And she starts to twiddle her pencil round and then starts nervously biting on it. Exclusive. Boy attempts to save friend. Cultist in the night. There's got to be a ring to it somewhere.
You know the place was turned over too. Yes.
Turned over how?
They took his notebook.
Containing?
We're not sure. That's what we want to find out, you see.
I can see more of these coming. This could be me set for the month. If only I can get this out first. What would be in that? And she starts to ponder over what stories and anything else that could have been in his notebook, playing with titles, inappropriate titles for one thing. And she kind of gets to an end and her train of thought runs off as she almost has what she needs. Before she goes, I suppose a fair deal is a deal. And this clearly isn't as fun for her. And she slides open a drawer up on her desk and hands you a small binder. And it just says Adams on the front of it.
Adams?
What's this when it's at home, love?
Say that again. You cut out, mate.
What's this when it's at home, love?
I'm not sure entirely what you mean. It's just my clippings, my scrapbook, everything you need to know about the Adams murders. It's what you wanted, isn't it?
I don't think they'll be calling them the Adams murders for very long, my dear. Do you have any way of getting access to him, talking to him? We had Lieutenant Paul come and give us a little questioning earlier, and he says he can't get us access.
Well, I've spoke to him before. It's not hard to go and visit Sing Sing if you need to. What would you give me?
How much of the cult angle have you investigated?
So. But there's no story in it. It seems better Adams has an accomplice. Surely, that's more logical. People aren't going to believe some cult, fancy, airy, fairy stuff. Christ, you're making us sound like a rag.
Unfortunately, I believe this is a story best told in a rag, my dear. It's got all the hallmarks of some pulp trash, but quite frankly, I assure you, it's all real.
Whilst this is going on, can I look at what she wrote? Because I assume she's looking at.
Yeah. So there's a scrapbook containing all here and everything. So sort of it's relevant clippings about the Adams murders. It's
Oh no, I mean what she was writing today, not the.
What she was writing today. Oh, so it looks like a half-finished piece about the funeral itself. It talks about a great author lost, but it seems like it's less focused on Jackson and it's more focused on the search continues. sort of the re-emergence of the Adams, the Harlem murderer.
Nothing useful then.
Yeah, it's not finished. It's a draft, and it's kind of tripe.
Fair enough.
Very exaggerating. Yeah.
Is there anything else on the desk, or?
No, it's immaculate. It's immaculate.
Sure. And what was the actual thing she handed us? The folder.
So there's a scrapbook.
Okay.
Throughout the scrapbook, I suppose there are reports, and as you kind of like just skim through, so the first two appear to make no definite link between the murders themselves, despite a strange symbol carved into their foreheads. The third murder, however, they started making some connections. Police were baffled by the deaths. There were no ties found between the victims, other than their visits to Harlem, but that's hardly noteworthy considering how popular the area is after dark.
And were they all murdered in rooms, or was there one outside, or something, or anything like that?
The murders are all varying. The only thing that links them are the head symbols.
Sure. I look at her and I'm like, so what do you want from us?
I want what you find. I want this to be a saga. I want us to give the people what they want.
And what do the people want?
A thrill.
A thrill.
And people need to feel unsathed. Good news is not news. We need to know that they're still out there.
Did photocopiers exist at this point in time? Probably not, right?
I wouldn't have thought so.
In which case, I pull out Elias's notes from Nairobi, and I'm like, I look at her and I'm like, I really do suggest that you investigate the Nairobi angle and take the cultiness of this entire situation a bit more seriously. Do you have a copy boy? Somebody who can take this down word for word?
Of course.
How long would it take him?
She flicks through the pages to capture the readable stuff. 2 hours tops.
It's yours for 2 hours if you want it. It's the best lead I've got right now.
I'll take it.
In the meantime,
sorry.
No, you go, Jax. You go. Jax.
I was just gonna say, have you ever heard of Lantern Street?
Lantern Street? Rings no bells to me.
It's alright. Find someone else to shed some light on it.
Really?
So I have 60 ambition.
She doesn't bite.
God damn it.
I've got one other question. I asked this earlier to another person. Does the term a Locksley Fellow mean anything to you, my dear?
Does she? No, she shakes her head. And where have you got that?
It's a very, very, very good question. 2 seconds. It's in my notes with Anthony Cowles.
Okay, from the lecture.
No. Yes, possibly from the lecture.
Or at least the chat with the lecturer.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the handouts, one of the handouts that people gave me.
It'll probably be the notes from the
Okay.
From the lecture if it's Cowles. No, she has no idea.
Okay, that's fine. Do you possibly keep records of natural disasters around the world? Yeah, I realize you are probably a centric newspaper to the United States, but just in case.
Not in crimes, but maybe down in the archives.
Sure. Well, I might have to go and spend my 2 hours down there.
And she twiddles her thumbs for a second, and she thinks, actually. And she's gone off on a tangent here, and she's quite often preoccupied, you can see, with all the things floating around her head. And she, what about if I got you one of the Adams?
One of the Adams.
Millie, Hilton's wife. Surely this could show you that all this hocus pocus is nothing more than that.
I look at the other two of you.
Sounds good to me. I don't even know who she is, but sure.
I like the in-character bottle swig there.
Just at this point, from my perspective as my player, my Jax, he's like a dude who basically he thinks wasted his time several years ago, told him to come here, and then died, and is now making him spend more of his time to figure out why he died. In a place where they don't serve alcohol very often.
We need to get out of the US, don't we? You'll be happier then.
Yeah, back with the fat sucking bastards.
Okay. I look at her and I'm like, if you could get us contact with her, by all means, join us. We might have questions that you would not have asked, and it might be best for you to take notes while we're there. If you any objections to Rebecca here tagging along with our investigations, boys?
Nope.
It's not gone so well for most people that have been with us, though.
Oh yeah.
Sure, James. We don't tell her about all the dead people.
And she sort of looks over and sort of almost putting it across as not an inconvenience at all. I needed to see him anyway. The execution's looming, and it's an easy story.
You don't believe he will get off because of this?
I'm sure he gets off of it.
Not like that, Jax. Sometimes, having met you only 2 days ago, I am starting to wonder what my father saw in you.
God,
he thought he was a tool.
He spoke of you so highly. So
Really?
Really?
I thought your dad was an idiot.
He won't get off unless you prove that this arrest was false, or there's any doubt in his conviction, and the story's pretty watertight.
I look at the other two of you and like, quite frankly, we know it wasn't him though. Should we take our time to go and see if we can talk to him and assist this man? He might have information for us.
Do we know it wasn't him?
No, but we can only find out.
He well could be connected.
He definitely could be, but then even then, I want to talk to him even more, don't you?
I mean, I'm interested why the authorities seem to think it is him. So,
yes.
If the story is, as she says, watertight, then we won't be able to poke any holes in it. So.
Exactly.
And if we can, then oh well.
Now, if we have 2 hours before your copy boy is done, would you mind terribly if I investigated some things down in your archives?
Feel free. I don't know what you'll gain, but maybe something will be there.
Of course.
Do you have any whiskey?
I think we'd all be a little bit happy if we had some whiskey.
Yes, we would.
I'm gonna go and find a chair and nap for 2 hours.
Okay.
Because I can just see Jax is going to be annoying me.
Yeah. And she ignores you and goes back to her typewriter. And as Victor sort of wanders off to try and find the archives, we shall leave it there for tonight, as you have many different directions to consider.